Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. Today, for the Focus ST, we're getting a trailer hitch. It's in the box right here. Let's pop it open. I'll show you the trailer hitch, and then we're gonna head over, use a lift, get it installed. So let's get to it. So if we pop trailer hitch out of its package here, this is gonna be the Curt hitch that will actually install above the exhaust and below the bumper. So we've got it in here. I should mention before you attempt to go ahead and do this, it's going to be a really great idea to go ahead and get some helicopter tape, some of the like paint protection tape to put in between where the exhaust pipe is and the bumper. That way when you're sliding hitch pins in and out, or in my case, there's going to be a trailer hitch rack that goes onto the car, it's going to work so much better. Well, let's pop this thing open. You're not going to be saving any weight by installing this. But here we are. We've got an 1.25 inch setup. Got nice little hitch. Looks like it's powder coated, or at least really well painted. And this is the part number 11431. Now, I should mention this hitch going to be linked down in the description below. So if you like the way it gets installed on the car, go ahead, click that link. It's helpful to the channel. It helps me do more things like this as we go. And with just about any car product, there are not instructions. Well, next time you see us, we're going to be at a house with a lift, ready to get this installed. Hey guys, we're here, ready to install the trailer hitch on the car. Luckily enough, I'm able to borrow a lift. Now, keep in mind, you should be able to do this at home, no problem, just with a set of jack stands. So before I said that the hitch didn't come with instructions, well, that's true, the hitch didn't ship to me with instructions, but luckily with a quick Google search online, boom, we've got some Curt instructions. So a couple of pages of this, hopefully it goes through without any problem. Now, what I am going to go ahead and note is it does say on the top here that a pro installer should be able to get this done in about 30 minutes, and a novice installer should be able to do it in about 60. It also looks as though we should be able to do this just by lowering the exhaust muffler and not by taking off the rear bumper, which that's going to be sweet if that's the case. Well, at this point, fairly good at doing this work, but let's go ahead, throw it up on a lift. We'll go through it together and see how it comes out. If we go ahead, take a look at our instructions here, our first step looks like it's going to be removing the two bolts on both sides of the exhaust. What that's going to do is let the exhaust droop a little bit down. When it droops down, it's going to come in contact with the subframe, so you don't have to worry about it falling off. But let's get that started. So this is a 13mm socket, so I've got socket onto an attachment here. So with that undone, you'll see the exhaust, it isn't falling off, and the reason is right here, right where the exhaust pipe comes over the subframe, that's actually going to hold it in place. You don't have to worry about this falling, but it does give us enough room, because the exhaust dropped, to be able to now go ahead and place the hitch up. So next step, we're going to raise the hitch up. That's going to allow us to find the third mounting hole. And don't be lazy, go ahead and take the Curt sticker off too. I see so many cars go up where somebody doesn't take the time to take something like this off, and it looks like junk afterwards. So we can now take the hitch, sneak it up and over here. one of these to start threading in. Boom. So we've got that piece threaded in here. Bring this up a little for you. So we've got the hitch threaded in. Now we can go ahead, take our bolts. We're not going to tighten these crazy, but we are going to snug them up. And with that, we've got the hitch here mounted up. We've got our hitch bar all tightened up. With the hitch mounted up like this, the next bit is we actually have to mark a hole because this actually has to get drilled out. That way we can fish through a third mounting point. So that actually attaches right there. And then you'll see that it is a pretty snug fit between the bumper and the hitch. You can see that you'll have to deform the bumper a little, but that's going to be no problem because I am going to put some tape here to protect the paint. But we took a marker, got these things marked up. Now we got to drop the hitch back down again and start drilling. All right, so I grabbed proper size here. This is pretty big. It's a 5/32. I think that's going to work well. But before we go do that, let's use a much smaller one. That's basically going to allow us to drill a pilot hole. You don't necessarily want to go at it with the biggest drill bit at the time. So let's tighten this up. We'll get our first drill in. So you want to line this up as centered as you can. Through on one side, onto the next. So we've got those bolts drilled out here. If you actually take a look just here, you can see it's actually drilled out. So we got that spot. But the next step that we have to do is get these guys to go inside. So this actually is going to come down kind of like that. But as you can see, yeah, it doesn't quite fit. But that's okay. So what they want us to do is go ahead and enlarge the hole on here. If that doesn't work, then you have to take the whole bumper off. I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to try out a Dremel with a little Dremel bit on it. Let's give this a shot. So what we're trying to enlarge is this area right here. It hasn't worked with anything else, so at this point I'm going to try it with an air saw here. So let's see how this works. So what we're going to do to get this bolt in, since this bolt has to end up down here, what we're going to go ahead and do is use something called the fishing line technique. That's basically, this fishing line is going to screw around the threaded bolt. So this actually screws in, and that's what's going to allow us to bring the bolt through inside of the frame rail. Now to do that, this is actually going to be a two-parter because we need to be able to send this through separate of then the bolt. So let me show you how you do that. So basically, we're going to take the end of the fishing line, we're going to send it up through the hole where we want it to come through, stick our finger in, and right here, we're actually going to have the end. So what I can do now at this point, because this square locking tool or nut or whatever you want to call it can now slide in, because when we get this all together, it's then going to allow us to send this guy through. So we've got that tightened up, and now what you'll see is we're actually able to send that through all as one piece. Boom, and locked right in. So if we zoom in, I'll show you. Now that's through. So is that locking nut? We're going to leave this on for the time being because this is just going to help ensure that we don't lose it. Basically, at this point, what we're going to want to do is, because that hole actually got cut open, we don't want an issue with rust or corrosion here. So we're spraying it down with a little bit of brake clean. It's going to dry up for us, and in just a few, by the time we get the other side done, we're going to be able to hit that with a little bit of black spray paint, and the hitch is going to cover it. You'll never see it, but that's going to keep this in good working shape. Boom. So we've got our bolt here. This guy, plenty of room now. So we'll take our fishing line technique here. Let's clean up these holes first. That way we get a chance to put a little bit of paint on them. So I'm going to use just some standard high heat paint here, just Rust-Oleum. Perfect. Just enough to ensure rusting's not going to occur. So now what we need to do is we're going to take the new hitch. We're going to then slide that right on top of here. We'll use two of the existing M8 bolts to be able to just hold it in place as we do the work. But then those will actually get replaced with a replacement M8 bolt as well as a spacer so that the exhaust drops down just enough. But before we get started, like I said, we're going to toss a little bit of protectant onto the bumper right here. So let's get that part done. So before we go ahead and we put the trailer hitch on, now that everything's all set, what I want to go ahead and do is actually install some of this clear, it's 3M paint protectant tape. Small little portion right here. All I'm going to do is basically cut it right out, put it through the center here, and that's going to allow us to do this. And like that, we've got a little bit of tape just to protect the bumper. I know it's kind of hard to see. There are a few bubbles here, but not a big deal. And then because we painted where the hole was in the frame where we had to enlarge that, both of those are in good shape, and we can just pull our nut right back out. So now it's time to go ahead, lift up the hitch and finish everything up here. We've now got the hitch back onto here, and you can see I've used the original supplied M8 bolts just to thread it back in. Now I can take the fishing line off, and then we can send up this guy, which is going to be the bolt to attach. Let's go ahead, start tightening that up. And that's going to begin to hold the hitch. You can now take the original M8s, pull those guys out, because now you're going to take this spacer. Spacer's going to go in between, and that actually allows it to drop the exhaust hanger just enough. So we'll flip the exhaust hanger around. So you take the bolt again, it's going to slide up into place. That'll thread in. So as I put the hardware on, I'm using blue Loctiter. This is medium strength, so you don't have to worry about it being on there too long. But so this is blue Loctite medium strength. So now that we've gotten all the bolts on there, we've got to check torques. So the smaller 2 bolts for the exhaust hanger, that's going to be to 23 foot-pounds. So just take your torque wrench. This is a click textile, so I'm just going to tighten. And once you hear that click, you've made it to torque. Then for the larger 7/16, we're going to bring this all the way up to 70 foot-pounds. So we've got 70 there, locked in place. Tight. Tight. And that, my friends, is how you install a Focus ST trailer hitch. So thanks for watching the install of this Curt receiver hitch. I don't know about you, but I would say it looks pretty dang nice on here. Sitting just in between the bumper and the exhaust. Nice look, because when the hitch is off, you'll probably not even notice that that's there. And then of course, putting that little bit of 3M tape is definitely going to help in the install to make sure that when you have to move the bumper up like that to slide the receiver in, that you're actually not going to scratch up the bumper. But overall, let me know down in the comments below what you think of the install. Do you think it's something that you can tackle? Do you think it's worth it? Would you even tow with your Focus ST? Anyways, I want to hear all that from you, and then of course, go ahead and click that subscribe button so we can be together for another video into the future.